welcome to Saving People Queering Things, the supernatural podcast where the only thing holding Dean back from this sweet condo deal is that they don't allow angel co-signers. Tragic. Today we are pulling up to season 5, episode 17, 99 Problems. I'm your host, Elayna.
I'm Noah.
And we're here to talk about this episode.
99 problems, but this episode isn't one of them.
How you feeling, Noah, on your first viewing?
It was great. I liked this episode a lot. It was very interesting. It expounds upon a lot of the lore that we've already talked about and been excited about. And so it's cool to take another deep dive at that. And we get to see Lisa again.
Yeah, you do. How'd you feel about that one?
A lot of different feelings and emotions, but it was good to see some closure for Dean, which was kind of nice.
Oh, you think there's closure? Oh, that's cute.
Oh, Dean thinks there's closure.
I was going to say, we've got 10 more seasons to prove there's none of that here.
He doesn't handle closure very well.
He doesn't.
As part of our preparation for the next era of Supernatural, we have created an audience survey to ask some questions of those of you who listen to our show, to get some feedback on what you like, what you would like more of, anything that we should be changing. Yeah, just any feedback you have for us. We would be so grateful if you have a few minutes to fill that survey out.
And the link to the survey is going to be available on our social media, in the show notes, and on our website, queeringthingspodcast.com. Do it, because it'd be cool.
Yeah, we would love to hear from you. Survey!
But speaking of all that closure that he doesn't have, now it is time to catch you up on all the closure he didn't have before. So if you haven't watched Supernatural recently, here's what you missed on the road so far. Noah is going to recap the show. Noah, are you prepared?
Oh yeah, I'm ready. Let's do it.
I believe in you. Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so the two brothers, Sam and Dean, are being pulled every which direction, left, right, up and down by these angels, demons, other demons. Everybody's trying to play them for a different part of the apocalypse, which they ended up starting because they were pushed in so many different directions. They need to just come together, because every time they come together, they keep kicking butt and, making progress. Now we're pulling up to, almost the end of the apocalypse. Sam is getting closer to being Lucifer's vessel. God damn. Every time I try to go bigger picture, and then it's like, oh, but actually that's because
I should get us to where we are.
Okay.
This season adds so much lore just in itself that it's hard to recap like the show and then season 5, because season 5 is like its own fucking series with how much lore there is.
Honestly, it's a little wild. They're time traveling too much.
Yeah.
Actually, not enough. Go more.
Wibbly wobbly, timey wimey, supernaturally.
Okay, are you ready to recap this week's episode?
I suppose.
Okay.
I liked this episode more than I remembered.
Good.
So that's fun to recap. I'm ready whenever. I have not prepared at all.
I'll give you a little countdown.
Alrighty.
3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so we start the episode with one of those classic Winchester cold opens where it's like, there's a thing, what the fuck? And then they find out, oh my gosh, there's a town of like people who are fighting demons with, like holy fire trucks. And so then they go into the town and they find out that there's a prophet there, and it turns out that she's not a prophet. And then Cass gets drunk, Sam gets drunk, everybody gets drunk except for Dean, which should be a sign of him being in emotional turmoil, that even he's not getting drunk. And then at the end of this episode, they kill the whore of Babylon, and Dean does something stupid, like Michael level stupid, and goes to see Lisa, and we are left with that cliffhanger.
Oh, damn.
Better than I thought it was going to.
Yeah, that was expert level right there.
Thank you. Been doing this too much.
Mad impressive. You got every little bit that you needed to.
Indeed. But now it's time for us to add some music to our journey. So here's what we have on this week's mixtape. Now, what you got playing in your ears today?
This week, I went with Find My Own Way by Arrested Youth. It's sort of how I feel Dean is looking at his conversation with Lisa at the end. When did life get so complicated? I just want to hear you say that I'm going to make it out someday. I just had to find my own way. I'm trying to be this person. I never reach it. This time, I admit it. Denial fixed my sickness. So sort of Dean's gonna deal with all these problems by not dealing with these problems and giving up, and so he accepts that, and he says goodbye to the person that he was holding out hope for. With Cass going off the rails, Lisa's his last little step.
Yeah, now that Cass has gone on a bender.
Mm-hmm. What did he just? Oh my god, he said it's so good.
Iconic, truly. That's a really good song choice, though.
Thank you. What about you? What's your mixtape pick?
So for mine, I went with the song "Broken" by Seether for obvious title reasons, because I feel like Dean ends this episode very broken, and in his brokenness, that breaks Sam. And Cass was already broke from the previous episode, which is thus the bender. So everybody's just in pieces right now. And some of the lyrics of this, like, I'm broken when I'm lonesome. I don't feel right when you've gone away, just seemed really fitting. And this particular, the opening line of the song, I wanted you to know I love the way you laugh. I want to hold you high and steal your pain away. And that to me was just very Dean and Lisa vibes, which
absolutely.
As much of a Destiel shipper as I am also Team Lisa. I've always liked Lisa, and she gets a lot of hate in the fandom, and it makes me really aggravated. And so I watched this, like, I've seen this episode dozens and dozens of times, and yet still I teared up at that part every goddamn time because of her and Jensen's acting choices. It's just a lot.
Yeah,
so
they
that's
do very, very well in that scene.
Yeah, they made me feel broken. So Broken by Seether is the jam of the week.
Yeah. A great pick. Great pick.
And now that we have that mixtape going, it is time for this week's hunt. And today we're going to be exploring the 17th episode of season 5, 99 Problems. And Dean is most of them, but we love him anyway. This week's tarot card, if you've been following along with us, we've been discussing season 5's themes through the Supernatural Tarot deck. And this week we have the card for the Emperor.
Ooh.
And it depicts John Winchester sitting in a throne with chains on the wall behind him.
Ooh.
Which doesn't make us feel any kind of way.
Not at all. So this is reading from the Supernatural Tarot Guidebook. We've got the Emperor is the ultimate authoritarian, a strong patriarchal figure, much like it says Master Hunter John Winchester, but I'm just going to say John Winchester.
Yeah, noted child abuser John Winchester.
Noted child abuser. Yeah, there we go. The upright says John is a skilled and knowledgeable hunter, and his thorough record keeping helps his sons whenever they find his journal and decide to follow in his footsteps. The Emperor advises you to stay vigilant, sensible, and disciplined. Reversed, it says you're feeling maxed out and burdened by responsibilities, so it's time to reevaluate your routines, analyze the way you spend your energy, and restructure the parts of your life that feel overwhelming. A much more uplifting message than John ever put out into the world, but
yeah, he didn't have a whole lot of that.
No. Did you want to give us a little bit more background about the Emperor in general?
I do. I would love to. So the Emperor is the 4th card in the major arcana, right after the Empress, which we recently discussed on an episode. The card typically pictures, like, a very stately elder gentleman sitting on a throne, looking like a badass, holding a scepter and like a, holy hand grenade of Antioch or whatever the heck those are called. And it basically is, like Noah was saying, it's an authoritative card. I think in relation to this episode, it's kind of cool because we're dealing with like a feminine person in charge, but the card is a male presence. But throughout the episode, like, she doesn't exude a feminine like leadership presence. It's very like, this is strict. We have to do this the way that the church says. And it comes off as very patriarchal, which I think is kind of an interesting choice. In reverse, this card, one of the things, this is from the Labyrinthos Tarot, which is a really good guide. In reverse, it says that the card represents power struggle and competitiveness, which I think is kind of interesting, given that like we're really dealing with like who's actually in charge of this town at this point. So yeah, that's a little bit more about the Emperor Tarot card. And I think it's going to be cool to see how that incorporates throughout the rest of the episode.
Oh yeah, I love that. Yeah,
indeed.
Well, I mean, okay, where did we want to start with this episode? There's so much here.
I mean, I always love your gut reactions to being a first timer, so
fair. First reaction was there need to be more fire trucks with holy water. That's a great call.
Just a good method.
Portable, it's efficient, you can hit so many different targets at once. It's so great.
Yeah. Were you surprised to like see that there was this group of people who actually know what they're doing, who thought they could give Sam and Dean the talk?
It was super interesting because they started trying to give them the talk, and then the brothers are trying to figure out how much do you guys actually know? And it was super interesting to see that dichotomy on screen. It was super fun.
Show you the trunk, or do we not show you the trunk?
Yeah.
The trunk could get us arrested in most places.
But so could, hosing down all these people aggressively like that. I don't know. There's a pro and con balance there. Got to figure that out. It was super interesting. I always like diving into the mythology of the prophets and, fake prophets. That was cool. Knowing that Cass has all their names seared onto his brain, that feels like an important little
Cass
note
is
that
the
will
real underrated MVP of this episode.
honestly, him being drunk, so good. Classic.
That's one of my favorite. Like, I found a liquor store and I drank it.
I drank it. So good.
Like,
so good.
hashtag tag yourselves. Me every time I have a hangover. It was just so good. And when he does the little thing where he's like, don't ask stupid questions.
He beckons him so close. He's like, hey, come here. Shut the fuck up. You're wasting my goddamn time.
Like, it's nice to see Cass with a sense of humor, even if it takes a whole liquor store to pull it out of him.
Yeah.
It's funnier in Enochian.
Is also great. It's an easy joke, but
yeah, that's a very, very often quoted line. You find it on a lot of, fan-made natural merch. It's great.
And of course, the absolutely iconic, I don't understand. Why do I have to say my name?
Cass's voicemail.
Oh God, it's so good. All the beep boop boop beep boop.
Yep. And then Sam leaves a really short voicemail. Like, we hear it, and then when Cass shows up, he's just like, "Your voice is grating," and it was a long.
I actually hated it. Could you never talk to me again, please? I can't stand it. It was so good. Cass is
he's brutal on Sam this episode.
Yeah, it's funny because he and Dean are trying to act like they're grumpy at each other and not really on speaking terms after the last episode. But
it isn't that cute of them.
Yeah, it's subtle, but they're doing it.
But he still gives his darling, hangover meds.
Yeah, he takes care.
He's just like, take the whole bottle.
You should probably just finish that off. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
I don't know how it works for angels, but
yeah, it doesn't have recommended angel dosage on the Tylenol bottle, unfortunately.
We'll work on that.
But Tylenol isn't very inclusive like that. Do better, Tylenol. It's Pride Month.
It's Pride Month.
Which I don't know if it will be so when this episode comes out, but as we're recording, it's Pride Month. Happy Pride, everyone. But you know what? Every month is Pride Month at this podcast. So happy Pride Month for the 6th time in a row.
There was also quite a bit of queer energy from some of the hunters in the town.
Right? Okay.
The bartender.
Give me your thoughts, because I had a takeaway this episode that I've never had before, but I want to know your thing first.
Yeah. So whenever they're, we're going to go on this mission, who's going to come with me? Someone's got to cover Rob's ass. And then they do that little smirk and do a little shot during the prayer. And those little jokes, that's definitely a little fuck buddy relationship, if nothing else,
Yeah. Especially when he makes the comment that most of the guys that come in here are not exactly as holy as they pretend to be. It's like, how do you know?
You'd be surprised, like that. Yeah.
Well,
definitely some action going on.
The thing I picked up on that I'd never noticed before is I feel like this episode is now admissible in my category of evidence for Sam not being interested in men at all, because that bartender was flirting with him hardcore, and it was just like Sam he wasn't at all when a male bartender flirts with Dean, he turns into a flustered 16-year-old. He doesn't know what to do with himself. He suddenly is like, man, pretty what, huh? And he just short circuits. And Sam doesn't do that at all. Sam's just acting like, yeah, this is whatever, sure. And it comes off to me as Sam probably realizes he's being flirted with, but you know what? He's confident in who he is, and so he's not bothered by it.
Yeah,
because actual people that are comfortable in their sexuality don't mind being hit on by people who are of a different sexuality.
Yeah, because they're like, oh yeah, well, thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah, so it's cool.
Anyway,
more focused on the apocalypse right now, but thanks for the.
I actually had these questions about the murders that occurred.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'd never noticed that before this watch, and I was like, oh my gosh, I was like, this character is absolutely putting the moves on Sam, and Sam is just unbothered and moisturized, and I love that for him.
Which R.I.P. Paul, that he was a fun character, and he got shot pretty quick out of nowhere. Things escalated 0 to 60 real quick, and he didn't.
That lady still gets me though, because like what Leah's dad was saying, just you killed a guy, you
sorry.
mad that he was drinking, and so your solution to that was murder, which is like pretty much that's like, okay, I'm a little rusty on my 10 commandments, but that's like 1 or 2, isn't it?
It's pretty high up
Pretty
there.
high up there.
It's like, hey, where do you guys draw the line? You know,
Yeah, like drinking alcohol is not one of them.
Yeah, it's different if you're trying to,
like, Jesus literally turned his blood into alcohol at one point. Like, I don't think he's gonna mind a couple of apocalypse beers.
No, not a chance. A
Just
little bit of an
doesn't
overreaction. I liked whenever they were doing, the Lord's Prayer, and they said, "Our Father in heaven," and Dean said, "Not so much," because they know he's on Earth somewhere.
Dean has, like, I know that he's like the king of quips, but he has some really, really good ones this episode. Like, I also love when everybody gets up from the bar and he just goes, "Something I said."
He's like, "Oh, whoa, well, hey,
Dean,
my dad."
why are you so silly?
It was good. It felt like a, kind of how Sam. Wow, so that's how it feels having backup. That was fun. Them having people to back them up in a
Actual
fight
people.
was nice. They kicked ass. The scene where Sam throws the demon blade,
And that interaction that they have with the kid before the kid gets killed,
Mm.
like, oh,
heartbreaking. They're trying to.
like Dean goes
Oh,
right
man.
into like big bro mode, and it's so sweet.
And that's what gets him killed.
And he's like, one more time, and you get to drive. Like,
Ugh.
come on, like, how
Ugh.
fucking wholesome.
It's so sweet.
Now, you're always the one that's pointing these out, the like actors from other things. Did you recognize him?
I did not.
The actor that played the kid? Okay. Because I recognized him and I was like, who the hell is he? And I had to look it up. But when I realized who it was, I was screaming. I
It
don't
was-
know if it's a show that you've seen. He played Michael on Jane the Virgin.
Ooh, I have not seen Jane the Virgin.
Oh, he's so good at that. And I was just like, oh no, I don't want to watch him die. But
No,
he's baby in this. He's so much younger.
so much smaller. I believe
Yeah,
it.
he's so small.
He did great for the bit that we got to see him in. If we had
Yeah,
gotten
he's
more,
really like that character is really a catalyst for the episode.
very much
Like
so.
that's the whole reason that Paul gets killed.
Yeah. Ugh, things go really crazy, very sideways, very fast.
Yeah. I'm curious if you had a moment where you noticed like something is really wrong with Dean.
The moment when he was talking to Leah and she said, "Well, Dean, you're chosen." He said, "More like cursed." And she said, "It must be hard being the vessel of heaven and having no hope." And that right there, he was like, well, fuck. I knew he was going to have to figure something else out, and he wouldn't be able to just sit there and accept that answer that he doesn't have hope, because he can't have no hope. He has to have something.
Yeah, he's
So-
Dean Winchester. That's his whole thing.
He builds up to deciding to make the only choice that he can, which is giving up. Fucking sucks.
Yeah. The one moment I had written down was that like when Sam's like, they just outlawed like 90% of your personality. And he's just like, whatever.
No
just-
biggie. I'm gonna be fine.
Like, I forget which episode it was. Oh, it was
not that long ago.
the real Ghostbusters, when Dean is talking to them and they're like, well, they don't care because they're fictional characters. And Dean's like, oh, they care a lot. And so like that's what you expect out of Dean. You expect Dean Winchester to care so much that he's gonna fucking bleed for it. And so when Dean gets apathetic, it's scary, because you're like, wait, no, you're the one who has like the biggest heart, who cares about everything so much all the time. If you are unbothered, then something is wrong.
Something is broken, and that hurts.
By Seether.
When Sam's out drinking with Paul and comes back to hang out with Dean, and Dean's like,
Uh-huh.
"Where you been? Drinking.
Drinking.
You rebel." So good. I'm like, oh, look at you getting out and partying. It was so funny.
And Dean's just sitting there, like on his bed, quiet, like, just sweetie.
Should have been red flag.
Red flags.
He's getting
Yeah,
ready to
but
say
this
goodbye.
episode is full of red flags.
Yeah. Yep. One by one by one.
My other favorite Dean moment is when Sam asks him if he wants to go to church, and he's like, "Oh, you know me, downright pious." And I'm
Downright
just like,
pious.
maybe for a certain angel who you'd like to take
Ooh,
to church. That's about it.
take me to church. You know what I'm saying?
Dead Dean Castiel.
I liked whenever when Cass does show up and Dean gets back from checking in on the town and whatnot, and then Cass says something like, "Well, it's starting." He's like, wait, you're here?" He walks into the room just talking to Sam, doesn't even look up, and then like, oh shit, Cass is here. Hey, where the hell have you been? He's
Yeah.
like, wait, give me a second. Let me process that you're here. What's
I
up
have
with
to
you?
completely recalibrate. I have to check my hair. Like,
Yeah, and then he's like, "Wait, did you say Bender?" It is not of import.
it is
So
not
good.
important.
And then he's
Yeah,
like, so what is
Misha
she?
really had fun with this one.
He really did. Being like, oh, no, she's not a prophet. Like, so what is she? The whore. Okay, Cass, tell us what you really think. Damn. It was good. That was good.
And because I bet this podcast has made it to the point where I'm so thoroughly see every single interaction that Dean has as like queer coded for Cass. And so when he's just like, tell us how you really feel, my brain was like, did Cass say that because Dean called her pretty? So is he just like the whore?
Wow. She's pretty. I can't. She's a whore. Yeah, clearly that's what he feels.
I will say though, I do really hate the pimp of Babylon line. I could really fucking live without that line.
Yeah, it's an unnecessary little spin they put on it.
Yeah, like I hate it when the writers will do that, where you'll have like a perfectly like normal scene and then they're just like, hey, let's pepper in some casual misogyny because we haven't done that in 5 minutes and we're supernatural.
We love doing that.
They truly do.
The journey of everybody being like, well, she needs to be struck down by a true servant of heaven, and that's not Dean, and that's not Cass, and Sam is an abomination. Every time Sam's like, yeah, I know, but you don't gotta say it. Like, damn.
Yeah. Like for a moment, let's talk about Sam's emotional journey through this episode. Like his whole thing where he has that like breaking point with Dean where he's just like, no, you are not allowed to give up hope because you're the only thing I have hope in. So if you don't have hope and then I'm not gonna have hope, then who's gonna have hope? We're done.
That's it.
Free will is screwed.
Free will is done.
Like, and I can't abide that. The band just got together.
Yeah. You can't break up that fast.
Nope. Unacceptable conditions.
And yet, that's what Dean decides to do at the end of this episode.
Did you predict that that's who he was going to see?
I did not. I didn't. Well, okay. Honestly,
like, were you surprised that he opened the door and it was Lisa?
I thought that he was, going straight to Michael. When he opened a door, I was like, oh yeah, Lisa was in the recap. Of course, he's going to go see Lisa. My bad.
As I was watching the recap, I was like, oh, screw this recap. Now I was gonna figure it out and not be
whenever they have somebody in the recap, they're gonna at least mention it. So when he showed up to a house, I was like, oh, that's not Michael. Like, okay, if he was just gonna meet Michael, he'd go to like a field.
A timeshare in the Hamptons.
Which, hey, maybe he does. That's up to
also
them.
I want to know if she's still yoga instructing, because how the fuck can you afford that house on yoga instructing?
Yoga instructors actually make 7 figures.
I mean, I'm sure that they make bank, but like, come on, in this economy.
I
guess it was the 15 years ago economy. So whatever. Just casually have to remember this show was a decade ago.
Yeah, awkward.
So before we finish up our main discussion, I had one thing left that I really wanted us to talk about, which is the kind of the rest of the conversation with Cass and Dean, because we talked about where he gives him the pills and he's like, take the whole bottle. But it's for me, it's the line where Dean acknowledges for the second episode in a row that John was a deadbeat dad. He says he's an expert.
Big expert.
Deadbeat dads. Yeah.
So good.
Like, his growth makes me so proud.
Immediately followed up by a shitty line, but we're not going to talk about that one until we get to representation. But deadbeat dad, he slanders John. We love it. We love to see it.
Slandering John in a episode where the tarot card depicts him is just goals for me.
Yeah.
And I think August would be proud.
Call that karma.
Yeah, it's so good. I love when Dean is able to like accurately talk about what he's been through as opposed to, ignoring things and just trying to pretend like it doesn't exist, which is what he goes to do at the end of the episode. So there's that, but take with the wins where you can.
Yeah.
They didn't call the episode 1 problem.
They don't have just one issue this episode. They've got plenty.
How many would you say?
I'd say probably 97.
That's a close guess.
They themselves are the last 2.
Well, that is actually a beautiful segue to our going meta section, because I definitely had a behind the scenes fun fact that I wanted to share. But first, with the going meta, this is where we track lore, representation, behind the scenes trivia, and more. And generally, we start with our representation check.
Rep check.
And as per usual, ladies and gentlemen, it is abysmal.
Terrible. Yeah. Not great. Not great. We mentioned, the way they refer to the Whore of Babylon, which is, it's different. Whore of Babylon as a title.
Like, yeah, it's a title, but it also
it's a problematic title for sure.
Yeah, but it comes from ancient biblical lore, which is not exactly, super woke. What with, they're not really going by our standards. But the fact that, Dean Winchester, who is in the present day, feels the need to say, let's pimp of Babylon this bitch.
Yeah.
No, just unnecessary at every dimension, that line.
No.
And I know we mentioned it already, but it's worth warranting. Again, it's not good.
On a good day, you get to kill a whore is not helpful or necessary.
Yeah.
Very cringe. Not a great line.
Yeah.
I get what he's going for, but that's not it.
Like, you could have said you get to kill some evil or destroy some evil. Like there's a way to say what you're trying to say without it being misogynistic. And I don't know that the writers typically know how to do that.
You say on a good day you get to take it out on a monster, and it's still risky to call certain things monsters and whatnot, but
yeah, because that's what the Whore of Babylon is.
Yeah, she's not a human being. Yeah, no, it's different.
She's like a demon of sorts. Yes.
Yeah,
I think
they don't really clarify.
I don't know that they explicitly say demon, but at least in that family.
Yeah,
she's in that part of the demonic kingdom, if you will. But the fun little behind the scenes thing I wanted to share is just the fact that this episode is called 99 Problems, which, on one hand is because it's a reference and, there's a poor bitch, 99 problems and she's like the one. But it's also because it's the 99th episode of the show.
Oh, look at that.
Next episode, we're discussing episode 100, baby.
Ooh.
Which is my favorite. So
episode 100, Point of No Return. I mean, that's a pretty good title for the 100th episode.
Yeah, it is good shit.
Once you're 100 episodes deep on the show, there's no going back.
Oh, there isn't. I mean, there was no going back seasons prior, but it's nice that they actually acknowledged it this time. Yeah. They only proceeded to go on for 226 more after that.
I wonder if, did they know? Did they know when they were filming the 100?
Oh, God, no.
There's no way.
They didn't even know if they were going to get renewed for season 6. And I remember being excited, like when they got renewed for I remember panicking, thinking it wasn't going to get a season 7 or 8 or 9. And then at that point, I just was like, it's going to get other seasons because it can't die now.
It's too big.
And when they finally, I knew it was going to go. Once they got past 10, I was like, if they don't go to 15, then what are they even doing here?
I really thought they were going to end on 13 because, it's the cursed number.
Oh, yeah, I guess I could see that.
I don't know.
But no, they took it for 2 more and here we are years later.
I'm in denial that the Winchester season 2 isn't happening.
Hashtag save Winchesters.
Yeah, we're not talking about it.
Yeah. I need more.
So get this. I was checking into the lore, and there's plenty of it this week.
There's so much.
The whole town of hunters, quotation mark, hunters.
I don't know whether to scream or buy a condo. It's one of my favorite lines of the episode.
So good. I did love that so much. It does seem like it would either be a perfect haven or the worst idea ever.
Yeah, it was giving me serious, like, The Walking Dead and The Last of Us vibes. And also, I don't know if you've seen on Netflix Midnight Mass, which is a really good show.
Yeah.
But I was just like, I was thinking about all those things, and I was like, this episode predates all of those things.
Yeah. They were
Supernatural is the blueprint for so many things that don't know it's the blueprint for them.
Yeah.
Like, The Last of Us ran because Supernatural took a stroll to the end. Like,
I would say The Last of Us ran because The Last of Us video game ran, but it is what it is. I do love how the vibes are so very similar. It tracks so very well. And
I wanted to agree with you, but there was a very loud car with very loud music blaring driving by, and so I had to mute my microphone.
That's so fair.
I wanted to be like, yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right about The Last of Us. Like, The Last of Us is its own thing, and I
No.
love and respect and appreciate it. But I love when you can be watching one show and you get the vibes of another show. It's always just a fun experience as a person who likes,
especially when they start in different places, you know?
Yeah, and they end up in similar places. It's a cool
little connection. You wonder if maybe the person who was working on that second show also felt the vibes in that first one. And
yeah, well, because we know that somebody who works on The Last of Us is a Supernatural fan because of the whole Jensen and Misha note that's in one of the games. It's not really a spoiler, but
they gotta be some sort of fan.
So somebody in that production room was like glued into Supernatural, and maybe took hints, little dashes.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we get the lore that angels can get drunk.
Angels can get drunk. It just takes a lot.
It takes a whole liquor store.
An entire liquor store. I liked the prophets. We get some prophet.
Yes. Well, we thought we got a prophet.
Yeah. We get all the names are on Cass's brain. So that's cool. If we need any of them.
Which is like an interesting, when he said that, I had a weird moment of like, well, not technically, because your brain is Jimmy Novak's brain. So like when you take a vessel, does it get seared onto their brain? Or is like he's saying brain because it's the closest thing he can use to describe his angelic consciousness? Or am I just thinking about this way too hard?
You know what? I mean, and that's Cass. He's a very literal being. So
yeah, like angel brains.
Or does Jimmy Novak, could they cut any angel vessel's head open and bam, there's all the names of the prophets right there. That's crazy. Get an MRI.
They fall out like a little things in a jar. I don't know what that was. You feel free to cut that.
That was a sign to move on.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Pretty significant piece of lore. Dean starts to say yes.
Yeah, he's gonna.
He has decided to say yes, and that's what makes him a servant of heaven again, to be able to take down the whore of Babylon.
Yeah.
Wild.
Well, that actually does bring me to one thing. We probably could have done this in main discussion, but I just want it to happen somewhere. But your predictions for next week and how you think that confrontation is gonna go, if you think it's gonna go at all. Like, do you think that he will actually say yes?
No, I'm
gonna do my best to do the
I read the description for the next episode.
Oh no!
Why Netflix accidentally, because it popped up. It was not on purpose.
It is the description for next.
It says Dean finds out the angels have decided they don't need him, and so I think he's gonna show up to the angels and say, "Hey, here I am," and they say, "Fuck off, we don't need you."
What a bold prediction.
I would love to see.
So powerful of you to say.
Showing up so heartbroken and Cass stopping him before he could make it there. That's what I would love to see.
Oh, okay.
And taking Sam with him,
Oh man, yeah, that would be.
What are you gonna do? You're just gonna live some normal apple pie life?
Well, I was trying to open Netflix to see this description you're talking about, and then of course it just decides it wants to start talking. But I want to see the whole. Is this that the whole? Okay. I'm okay with that. There are things that does not spoil for you.
Okay, good. I'd be a little disappointed if an episode description revealed the entire episode. That's just rough.
You'd be. It's sometimes, bro. Sometimes.
I'm very, very curious to see how that confrontation is going to go, because I always like seeing.
I can't wait.
Being
so excited. My favorite, like the favorite, like out of 326. Next week's is my favorite.
Nah, okay, but you said that about On the Head of a Pin.
No, I said that one was up there.
Oh, okay.
It's up there. It's probably in my top 5.
This is the one.
If I could only pick one episode of Supernatural, this is the episode.
Oh, damn.
The one that we're going to discuss next week. That is.
Okay, no pressure.
No pressure.
I'm excited.
There are plenty of other episodes that are in tight competition with it, but it's definitely the one I've seen more than any other episode for sure. Not even a contest.
Okay. Damn. I might have to watch it twice just to talk about it properly.
Ooh, I'm so excited. And so that's about it for today. So we're going to go now into our blessings, which is our final segment of the show. And Noah, I'm really curious who it is you would like to bless this week, because there are several characters very deserving.
Prime and ready. I'm going to go with Sam. I'm going to bless Sam this week. I think that he is in a really tough spot, having to see his brother put through the same rough choices that he's, been pushed into the whole last 2 seasons, where he's taken on responsibility upon himself and trying to keep his brother out of danger by leaving his brother behind. He really has to be left in the dust, and there's nothing he can do about it. And I hate to see that. And I want him to be happy and ready to protect his brother when he gets back.
Amen to that.
What about you?
You know who I'm gonna bless. So obvious. I have to bless Dean. I was so close to blessing Cass, but I've blessed both of them, I guess. But mostly Dean, because this is it. Like, this is the episode where you just see like all of the hope leave his eyes. And as a Dean coded person, that breaks me every single time. I never have gotten through this episode without tearing up at the end. It just doesn't happen. So I'd like to bless Dean for thinking he has to make this decision that he doesn't have to. And I wish him the strength to deal with it, because it's gonna be a lot. He's in for it next episode.
Yeah, honestly, he's taken on a lot, and I'm ready to see it. I'm so excited.
But that is all we have for you today. Thank you so much, Noah. This was a blast.
No, of course. This was so much fun.
I always enjoy these episodes where it's a dynamic duo.
Yeah, and this episode was a great one to do it on. There's a lot of little fun bits.
Just fun, casual stabbing of Babylonian whores.
No big deal.
Must be Thursday.
If you want more like that, make sure you are subscribed to Saving People Queering Things wherever you listen to podcasts. Make sure to share our show with your friends.
And you can find links to our social media and join our Discord through our website, queeringthingspodcast.com.
And if you are all caught up on Supernatural and want to go back to Before the Beginning, you can listen to August and Elayna along with friends Beth and KJ over at Wayward Parent, with updates at Wayward Parents on Twitter or on Tumblr at Wayward Parents Podcast.
Be sure to ride along with us next week as we explore Season 5, Episode 18, Point of No Return.
Thank you all for coming along for the ride, and we wish you a peaceful road until we meet again.